So this is going to be kind of more of a writing question, kind of a meta question about the tone and the pace of the show. So based on the comic book, but the comic book portion of the show, that was like over by episode 6 or 7.
Gone.
So what is kind of the inspiration coming from for the show and also for the characters? Like where do you draw from to build the characters from this point forward?
Well, the inspiration for the show was the comic book. I mean, I actually sold the show to Sci-Fi by just sending them the comic book, nothing else.
Right.
And then trying to get everybody else on board was hard. But it was just about, I pitched it without the comic book as one basic line. The people wake up not knowing who they are, thinking maybe they're the good guys, maybe they're the bad guys, but they don't know. And that complex storyline sold everyone very fast. So that's all we had to stick to. Once we're finished the comic book, all we have to do is a bunch of characters who aren't sure whether they're good or bad, and make those choices every week. You know, and even when we introduced Nyx, a new character, her first move with him is a badass who really is a good person in a difficult situation. Right? So we kept that up with everybody.
We're all just surviving and using our skills to survive.
So is there like a direction you're going for this, or is it just characters in space having adventures?
Well, actually, I think that's why the show works. It's not a typical sci-fi space show. It's a character show.
Yeah.
And the whole way it was sold was a character show. That it wouldn't be just sci-fi. Now, had to build a spaceship, which was the big problem, because that cost millions of dollars to build a spaceship. But it's a character of its own.
It's cool. Yeah, it is cool.
Absolutely. The relationships we're forming, I mean, as my new character coming in, I get a chance to kind of find a way in and kind of work my way in the French hole of the ship. But it's so interesting because each character is so different. And some are easier, some are more accepting than others.
So what dynamic do you find that you bring to the crew? Because now each of the characters was very different, especially in the first season, and they all had very interesting kind of pros and cons. But now one is gone for now. I can't ask if he's going to be back. I can't ask, but you're not going to tell me.
No.
So what do you think? How do you think the dynamic shifts with him gone and you in?
Well,
you're the dynamic.
Yeah, I was in the first season, so I can only talk about from the second season, but I know my dynamic towards the rest of the crew, how Nyx fits in. I mean, she has a set of skills that will become apparent when you find about Nyx's backstory in episode 206. She has a set of skills very different to everyone else on the ship, so she complements them in that and can help them in that way.
Cool.
So you mentioned episode 6. Is that where we might learn where Nyx gets her unique fighting ability?
Absolutely. You'll find where her skill set comes from, her world, where she's from, why she relates to people the way she relates to people.
And she fits in really well with the Raza crew. Maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me, but it almost seems a little too well. Like maybe she has an ulterior motive or something that might pop up later.
I think the interesting thing about the arc of Nyx's character in this season is, I think she comes onto the ship thinking one thing, and she has lots of secrets. And she, as the season progresses, she becomes more vulnerable and trusting of these characters and begins to, like them more.
Well, that's why I say your character was designed specifically to see if a tried and true group who had already bonded could let somebody new in, right? And she did to the crew over the season what everybody else did. She had conflicts. She wasn't necessarily honest with them all the time. And so her character tested each one of them in a different way. That was the reason she existed and came into season 2.